All right, so today we're doing something a little different.
Oh,
Yeah, you guys sent us one source this time.
just one, huh?
Yep, just one. Pastor Jerry Eze's YouTube sermon, Enter Your Season of Settlement.
Okay. Interesting choice.
It is, right? And full disclaimer right off the bat, we're not going to get into any religious debates or anything.
Yeah. I think that's important to stay upfront.
Right. It's not about that at all. It's more about the way he communicates.
Ah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like Pastor Eze, he's got this incredible charisma, you know?
He does. He's very dynamic.
And he uses this really vibrant language.
Hmm.
You know, the way he gets his message across is just fascinating.
I mean, he is promising these huge spiritual breakthroughs, life changes, that sort of thing.
Exactly. And that's what we're really interested in, how he does that.
So it's more about the persuasive techniques.
Yeah.
The rhetoric.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah, so, you know, one thing that really jumps out at you right away is this phrase, it's already done.
Oh, yeah, he says that a lot.
He does, right?
Yeah.
It's like a mantra throughout the whole sermon.
It's like he's constantly reinforcing it.
So what's the strategy there, do you think?
Well, I think by saying it's already done, even though obviously nothing has actually happened yet,
Right.
he's really trying to cultivate the sense of faith and expectation in the listener.
It's like he's trying to convince them that it's a done deal.
Right, and it ties into this whole idea of the prosperity gospel.
Oh, yeah.
Which is this belief that by speaking something into existence, you can actually influence reality.
So like a self-fulfilling prophecy kind of thing.
Exactly. It's almost like willing things to happen through sheer belief.
I mean, isn't there a risk there, though? I mean, what if things don't actually manifest?
That's a valid concern, and I think it's important to approach this with a critical eye.
For sure.
Because it could be, yeah, people could start blaming themselves or feeling like they didn't have enough faith.
Right, right.
But in terms of persuasive techniques, it's incredibly effective.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just, it's already done either. It's carry the evidence, call forth the manifestation.
He really piles it on.
Oh, yeah, even appear. Like
Yeah.
he's directing these commands at whatever the listener wants to manifest.
It's very powerful imagery.
It is. And then he brings in this whole concept of spiritual warfare.
Oh, yeah, that's a big part of his message.
Can you break that down for us a little bit? What exactly does he mean by that?
Well, essentially, he's saying that everyday problems, things like financial struggles, health issues, even relationship problems, he's linking them to spiritual attacks.
So it's not just bad luck or circumstance. It's like there's a force working against you.
Exactly. And he's suggesting that by aligning yourself with God, you can break free from these negative cycles, these attacks.
It's a pretty intense concept when you think about it.
It is, but this idea of a battle between good and evil, it exists in a lot of different faiths.
That's true.
But the way he connects it so directly to these tangible outcomes, that's pretty unique.
And he doesn't just stop at overcoming challenges. He talks about gaining generational blessings.
Right. Passing those blessings down to your children, your grandchildren.
Yeah. And he takes it even further, promising blessings to the 20th generation.
Wow. That's a long time.
Right. And he uses these really powerful phrases like wipe out years of shame and put you on your mount of visibility.
It's very evocative language.
Incredibly so. And he gives very specific instructions on how to achieve all of this too, right?
Yeah, he does.
He talks about breaking curses, commanding spirits, even reversing physical ailments through prayer.
And cutting ties with what he calls wicked strangers.
Right. It's a very active approach to faith, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's almost like a spiritual to-do list.
Right. He's not saying just sit back and wait for things to happen.
Well, he's saying you need to take action right now,
Mhm.
and he promises these really dramatic results.
And to illustrate all of this, he uses the biblical story of Jairus.
Oh, the synagogue leader whose daughter is dying.
Exactly. And that woman who's healed just by touching Jesus's garment.
It's interesting how he weaves that story in.
It is. Why do you think he chose that particular story?
Well, I think it's very carefully chosen. You
Yeah.
know, Jairus' desperation to save his daughter, it mirrors that urgency that Pastor Eze wants his listeners to feel.
Makes sense.
And then you have the woman who's healed. She represents those unexpected miracles that can happen if you have enough faith.
Oh, I see. So he's connecting these ancient stories to these modern desires.
Exactly.
And how does that story connect to his idea of settlement?
Well, Jairus' daughter is ultimately healed and settled back into life,
Right.
just like Pastor Eze is promising that his viewers will find settlement in their own lives.
So it's like a metaphor for finding peace and stability in all areas of your life.
Exactly.
And then he takes that idea of settlement a step further with this concept of addressing the atmosphere.
Yes, that's a really interesting one.
It is. What did you make of that?
Well, it's like he's saying it's not enough to just solve your own individual
You have to
problems.
change the environment around you.
Exactly. You need to shift the spiritual environment,
Yeah.
get rid of negativity
And replace them with faith and positivity.
and replace them with faith and positivity. Right. It's about shaping your spiritual reality and taking control.
It almost sounds like he's incorporating some New Age ideas in there, too.
It does have that feel, doesn't it?
Like when he talks about surrounding yourself with faith-filled people.
It's not just about personal prayer. It's about building a supportive community.
Right. And that actually aligns with a lot of research on social influence.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
We're definitely influenced by the people around us.
So he's really tapping into that, but within a spiritual context.
Very clever.
And then there's that moment where he uses the phrase, "Damsel, I say unto thee, arise."
Chills.
I know, right? It's taken from the story of Jairus' daughter.
Yeah, but he's giving it this whole new meaning.
He is, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's not just about a literal resurrection anymore.
Right. It's about rekindling dreams, reviving passions, refusing to give up on what you want.
It's incredibly powerful, especially for anyone who's feeling defeated or discouraged.
I can see how that would really resonate with people.
And the way he delivers that line, the cadence, the energy, it's like a jolt of electricity.
It gives me chills just thinking about it,
Me too. And that leads perfectly into his final point about walking after rising.
where he emphasizes that it's not enough to just overcome a challenge. You have to keep moving forward.
And he uses that great analogy, don't celebrate your walk because you will soon faint without food.
It's like he's saying true settlement isn't a destination, it's a journey.
Right. You have to keep nourishing your spirit, keep growing, keep evolving.
He pecks a lot into that sermon.
He does. He
Yeah.
really does. From declaring your desires to shaping your spiritual environment to this idea of constantly moving forward.
It's a very hands-on approach to faith and problem solving.
It really is. And it's fascinating to see how he weaves all these different threads together to create such a compelling message.
He's a master storyteller, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And whether or not you agree with his theology, you can't deny the impact he has.
He's definitely got people talking.
That's for sure.
It's a very active and engaging form of faith, you know?
It is, right?
Me-
Like he's really empowering people to take charge.
Exactly. It's a stark contrast to some other preaching styles that are more about quiet reflection or,
Acceptance, just accepting your lot in life.
yeah, passive acceptance, exactly.
And he's saying, no, you have the power to change things, but it's all within this spiritual framework.
Right. He's framing it within that context.
And the way he delivers that message
Mm.
is just as compelling as the message itself, I think.
Oh, absolutely. The energy, the repetition, those call and response moments with the audience.
It's like you're right there in the room with them.
Yeah, it's very immersive, very emotionally charged.
There are times when it feels almost like a motivational speech or a self-help seminar,
That's a good point,
but with a spiritual overlay.
Right. It's like he's blending those genres together.
He is. It's really unique, and it's clearly working.
Oh, yeah. Millions of subscribers. His sermons are going viral.
So what is it about this message that's resonating with so many people?
I think it's that need for hope, that desire for connection and that sense of control.
Especially in a world that feels so chaotic and uncertain.
Yeah, exactly. He's offering this sense of empowerment and possibility.
And it seems to transcend cultural boundaries, too.
It does. It really does.
And speaking of cultural context, he's based in Nigeria,
Right.
and his sermons often draw on African spiritual traditions.
Like when he talks about generational curses and blessings.
Yeah, that's a concept that's deeply rooted in a lot of African cultures.
It is, and it's interesting how he blends those traditional beliefs with these modern anxieties.
He's creating a framework for navigating the challenges of today, but through this ancient lens.
It's fascinating.
It really is. So what can we take away from all of this?
Well, I think it really highlights the power of persuasion
Oh, absolutely.
and how spiritual leaders can tap into those deep human needs and desires.
And it's not just about the message itself, it's about the delivery.
Right, the way he uses language, storytelling, audience engagement to create this powerful, transformative experience.
Whether or not you agree with his theology, you have to admire his skill as a communicator.
You do. He's a master of his craft.
He is. But isn't there a danger in that, though? I mean,
What do you mean?
well, what if someone uses those same techniques for less than noble purposes?
Ah, I see your point.
Like, could this kind of rhetoric be used to manipulate people?
That's always a risk when you have someone with that much influence.
And what about those people who buy into the message wholeheartedly?
Yeah.
What if those blessings don't materialize?
That's a valid concern, and it's why critical thinking is so important.
Absolutely.
We can appreciate what he's doing, admire his skill,
Right.
But we also need to be aware of the potential downsides, the potential for manipulation, even if it's unintentional.
So it's about finding that balance.
Exactly. And maybe even learning from him, you know?
Oh, how so?
Think about how we can use the power of language and storytelling to inspire positive change, but in an ethical, responsible way.
That's a great point. It's not just about critiquing him, it's about learning from him.
Exactly what stood out to you about his approach?
I think it's that blend of traditional faith with self-empowerment, you know?
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's like he's speaking to people who are looking for spiritual guidance, but they also want to take control of their own lives.
It's very much a reflection of our times, I think.
It is, and it's resonating with a lot of people. But I do wonder,
What's that?
isn't there a risk of oversimplifying things a bit? You know,
In what way?
life is messy. It's
Oh, yeah.
complicated. And promising this season of settlement could set people up for disappointment.
If those expectations aren't met.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a tricky balance, isn't it? I mean, on the one hand,
He's offering this really appealing vision.
right, hope, empowerment, but yeah.
But on the other hand, you have to wonder.
If it sets people up for a fall,
Yeah, exactly. Like, if those blessings don't show up.
if life doesn't magically become this season of settlement,
Because, let's face it, life is rarely simple.
it's not. No, it's messy, it's complicated.
It is, and it almost feels like he's encouraging people to bypass the struggle.
To just skip ahead to the good part.
Right, like just jump straight to the settlement.
But I do think there's something to be said for his emphasis on walking after rising.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Because he's not just saying sit back and enjoy your blessing.
You say you got to keep going.
Exactly. Keep growing. Keep nourishing your spirit.
So it's not about reaching some static state of perfection.
No, it's more about the journey, the continuous growth.
Which is actually a more realistic view of life, wouldn't you say?
I think so, yeah. Life is all about change and adaptation.
It is.
Yeah.
But I still wonder about the oversimplification aspect.
What do you mean?
Well, presenting this seemingly simple solution to these incredibly complex problems,
Ah, I see what you're saying.
it feels a bit like spiritual bypassing almost.
Like avoiding the hard work of facing those challenges head on.
Exactly. And I know he has a lot of testimonials from people who claim to have experienced breakthroughs.
Oh, yeah. He does?
Have you seen those?
I have, yeah.
What do you make of them?
Well, I think it's important to approach them with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Oh, for sure.
Because we don't know the full context, that we don't know if those results can be directly attributed to his teachings.
And people want to believe in miracles, you know?
Oh, absolutely. They
Yes.
want that quick fix, that easy solution.
They do. But it's important to be discerning.
It is. It's like that saying, a single event is an anecdote, a collection of events is data.
We need more than a few stories to draw any real conclusions.
Exactly. But I do think the testimonials speak to the power of belief
Oh, definitely.
and the impact that a charismatic leader can have.
That's what's so fascinating about this whole deep dive.
Not that?
Even if we set aside the question of tangible results,
Right.
there's no denying the power of his message.
He definitely taps into something.
He does. He offers this vision of hope, empowerment, possibility, and it's clearly appealing to a lot of people.
It makes you wonder why it resonates so deeply.
It does, right?
What needs and desires is he tapping into? Is it a yearning for certainty in an uncertain world?
Could be.
Or a longing for connection and belonging? Or maybe a desire to transcend our limitations?
It's something to think about, for sure.
It is, especially in a world that's so full of information and competing narratives.
This deep dive has definitely given me a lot to think about.
Me too.
It's made me reconsider the role of faith in people's lives.
And the ways that a skilled communicator can really inspire people.
It's been great exploring this with you.
Likewise, it's fascinating how even something like a YouTube sermon
Can offer these insights into human behavior.
and the power of persuasion.
Well said. And for everyone listening, we'll leave you with this final thought. How does Pastor Eze's approach to faith and problem solving resonate with you? How does it differ from your own beliefs and experiences? How do you navigate that line between faith and critical thinking? Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep until next time.